My guest today is
Okay.
Tracey. Tracey is a top producing real estate agent who walked away from everything. She walked away from a thriving business back here in Alberta, packed up everything and her family, and moved to Mexico and started all over from scratch. And now, what is it, 3, 4 years later? 4 years?
Just over 4, almost 4.5.
So 4.5 years later, she's got a thriving real estate business in Huatelco, Mexico, and her own tequila bar, which is pretty cool. So I'll get her to talk about that. So Tracey and her family started a brand new life in a foreign country with no instruction manual, no roadmap, and really not really much of a plan, just winging it. And now she empowers and helps families that are thinking of doing something crazy like she did. So welcome, Tracey.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. Are you a salesperson?
Yes, definitely. Most definitely.
You gotta be,
I think
right?
I've always been one.
You probably had to sell some people on the idea of making this move, right?
Definitely. It started with our kids first. We had to sell them on hopping in the car and joining us on this crazy adventure. So definitely had to sell them on it first. And we've paved the way for quite a few people to join us down here.
So your kids, how many kids have you gotten and what are their ages? You've got like a blended family, right?
Yeah. So we've got 7 kids combined
My God.
in between at this point 16 and 23. 6 of the 7 came to Mexico with us.
Wow.
And at the time we're between 14 and 19 when we left.
So did you like rent a giant truck or bus or something? Like how did you how did you get this whole clan all the way down through two
Yeah,
countries?
we traded in some vehicles that we had and literally got our 8-passenger SUV the night before we left and we drove.
Wow.
It took us 8 days and well, it would have taken 6, but the night before we got the car, they washed it. And I guess it because it was so cold, it froze the door mechanism. So then we literally got in the car and my husband had to Dukes of Hazard it in and out of the driver's side window to be able to get in the car because the door mechanism broke and the only place to get the part was in Dallas. So we had to detour.
My God. Um,
Yeah.
so what does that take to just make that decision? Like what's going through your head? What's like talk us through the moment where you decided, all right, we're done here. We're leaving the country. We're going to Mexico. Like, how do you reach that point?
Not to get political, but COVID Canada fast forwarded that one for me. We just wanted a simpler life, wanted to go on an adventure. And by no means did we think that we were going to come to Mexico with kids in tow. We thought that this was going to be something we were going to do once we retired, or at least once the kids left home. And yeah, just the situation in Canada kind of led us to speed that up and ask the kids if they wanted to come on an extended vacation with us. So we somehow got them to hop in the car and come with us. I think they're used to our spontaneous, crazy ideas. I mean, we had a hobby farm in between Red Deer and Sylvan Lake before we left. So we had a lot of random animals, like we had goats just because. So I think they were just used to our crazy ideas. So they said, sure, we'll hop in the car and come with you. And we ended up not leaving. So I don't know if that answered your
So,
question.
yeah, no, totally does. So, I mean, I get it. It's COVID. You have to get a injection you might not want if you want to participate in society, and that it seemed like the whole country just kind of went nuts. So maybe what I'm hearing is like you kind of already had the idea to move, but it was like, okay, well, maybe once the kids are grown, let's fuck off to Mexico. But now it's like I want to leave now,
Yes. Yeah.
and the
And there
kids were on
was
board.
The kids were on board. Well, actually, my daughter, who I'm staring at across the room that's working, she works our marketing. She, a few days before we were leaving, decided to spring it on us that she wasn't coming. I thought my husband was going to have a heart attack. Do we cuff her, put her
Apparently,
in the
she's there
car?
right now. So
Yeah, she's here. She's here. She's still here. She's working marketing for both the tequila business as well as the real estate business. Kids are all working for us in some aspect between the two businesses.
well, no, that's good. So you told them it was the premise at the time was let's take an extended vacation. Like let's just head down there. Like your initial plan wasn't necessarily like you're going to put down roots and start businesses and like permanently relocate. That's kind of happened on its own.
No, it just kinda happened on its own. Of course, I mean, my husband and I, knew when we came down here that we were going to be putting forth our best efforts to be able to to hopefully stay. But yes, to
Yeah,
get the kids on board, it was promoted as an extended vacation, and that we would just go on an adventure with the family and then just kind of see how things shook up when we arrived. But for me,
little bit of a bait and switch there.
yeah, yeah, a little
Just
bit.
kidding,
But
kids. We live here now.
yeah, no, we knew that real estate was probably going to be the path of least resistance in terms of how are we going to make any money while we're here. When we
Mhm.
left, I still had a few properties for sale in Alberta, and I'm still licensed in Alberta, as you know. But I knew that we would have to really hit the ground running down here to try and figure things out to start a business. And I didn't really understand the landscape of the real estate here. It's a very small town. There's a set, kind of number of real estate companies here. And I realized it was probably a little bit of a bold undertaking to just show up and decide that I was going to open up shop here with absolutely knowing nothing about the area. I'd never been here before. We arrived completely sight unseen, got out of the car and said, okay, let's open a real estate company. And then 4 years later, have a tequila company as well.
So you were kinda disruptive there, like, there was a few established setups, and they probably weren't too pleased with you, moving in on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was maybe a bit of a bolder move than I saw at the time. I'm used to coming from, Calgary where I mean, you almost have like the same population of just realtors in Calgary to like the entire of Watuco. It was I guess yeah, maybe a little bolder than I realized initially showing up
So
here and doing this.
Huatulco, this is a little, like, seaside town way in the south, am I right?
Yeah, we've got the Pacific Ocean right here. Yes, very south, very small town. I'm not from a
So,
small town, so I'm not used to this for sure.
how did you decide on that location of all the places in Mexico? How did you land on that one?
I realize now I kind of looked a little bit naive in how I was searching, but I was looking on Facebook group pages and it was like some sort of like moving to Mexico group page and I posted on there that I was, coming from Canada last minute to Mexico with 6 kids in tow, where's a safe place? I realized,
Right.
I just opened myself up to a bunch of keyboard warriors that decided to tell me that I was stupid and that I shouldn't
Of
well,
course,
maybe
yeah.
not stupid, maybe irresponsible, and that I shouldn't ever just uproot my family on a whim, and should really research and visit the area first. But clearly, they don't know Daryl and I. Again, we got goats randomly just cause like we do we've just always been very spontaneous with everything that we do, so I decided to just ignore all the negativeness in the background and did my own research. So on Googling safe places in Mexico, there was a few places that showed up. Not all of them were coastal towns, and I really wanted to be by the water.
Mhm.
And initially, when we arrived here, we couldn't find a rental for Huatulco, and we needed to have an address when we went across the border. So we originally started in Puerto Escondido, which is just like 2.5 hours from here. A
Right.
little bit more of a transient town, definitely younger. I think the kids would have probably preferred to have stayed there. There would have been a lot more for them to do, but we really wanted to get these roots in, enroll the ones that were still in high school, in school, so that they could make friends and everything. And Watuco did just seem more of like a small town feel where the kids could roam the streets and have freedom. And that's what basically we were leaving Canada for, was to get them some freedom back. And the last thing
Right.
I wanted to do was to go to a place where they would be restricted. So, no offense to any places like Cancun, but any of these bigger tourist destinations that are a little bit more Americanized and things like that, that just really wasn't what we were looking for. We were looking for more of a
They were
laid
all
back
kinda locking
vibe.
down and stuff.
Yeah, laid back vibe, kind of more small town. I mean, there's lots of swimmable beaches here. So for me, the proximity to town, proximity to beaches was huge. So this ticked off all the boxes. So when we found a rental here after being in Puerto Escondido for about a week, we decided that we didn't need to keep traveling, that this was going to be where we were going to set up shop.
And pretty much unanimous in the whole family agreed on that this is the spot.
Yeah, I mean, when we got some of the kids registered into school, I think that helped solidify us staying here. We didn't wanna have to move and do that again. Um,
Right.
Kids didn't all initially start working for us because we didn't really have a business that was being run at the beginning. It was just me on social media responding to people's inquiries. They were just the ones that were in school or finishing school. The other ones were just kind of getting acquainted with the area. And some of them had little jobs at restaurants and things like that when they first got here. But yeah, I mean, they seemed fairly on board with the area. They didn't really have it to compare to. One of the other areas that we had looked at, which we've heard is quite lovely as well, is Merida in terms of like it being a, safe place and all that. For me, 30 minutes from the beach just wasn't going to cut it. In
Right.
Wet'suwet'en, no matter where you are, you're 3 minutes from a beach. And
Mhm.
now our kids, quite a few of them have significant others that are in Mexico as well. So obviously that helped solidify them wanting to stay here as well. But definitely, when
Right.
we first got here, I could say that they weren't as necessarily fully on board before they made friends and kind of established their own roots. But
Mhm.
they were wondering where the mall is, and there's no mall
Right.
here. There's like, yeah, there is none. So you're just gonna have to figure out how to keep yourself busy. But now they willingly will spend the day on the beach just with friends as there's something to do. They're not always looking for things to entertain them the way that they were
Right.
in Canada. You got to spend money, you got to go bowling, you got to go to the movie theaters, you got to spend money going to this place and that place. Whereas here, it's more about being outside and in nature.
Just go to the
So it
beach.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe took them a little bit to kind of settle into that more laid back lifestyle and outdoor
Mhm.
lifestyle, but they've all settled in really well to it now.
Yeah, that sounds so much more relaxing. I know exactly what you're describing. It's like to make plans, it's like where are we making an appointment that's gonna cost, $60 per kid to go
Yeah.
entertain ourselves, to have it's to share pictures of on social media, like, what activity are we planning? It's like, wouldn't it be nice to just go outside and just watch the
Yes.
sunset, right? I mean, not that you
Yes,
couldn't do that here,
exactly.
but, definitely not 12 months a year.
No, and yeah, it's just different. It's just like there's from my house, there's like 3 beaches that are walkable within 7 minutes. So in the mornings, I'm
Wow.
just like, Which one should I go to?" And I just,
Mhm.
walk in that direction and then I'm at a beach. And some of them virgin
Yeah.
beaches too. There's no facilities, nothing there, just this beautiful, and I'm the only person there in the morning. Yeah, it's definitely a different lifestyle.
And you chose a place where, you or one of your kids can just walk outside by themselves and go to the beach and you feel totally safe.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, like, I mean, the kids can wander around town, like, hands down, feel way better about the kids wandering the streets here than I did the streets of Red Deer, Alberta.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess shifting more to like the business side of it. So what's it like doing business in Mexico? Like what kind of hurdles did you have to overcome? What did you have to figure out?
Ooh,
Like I know like
yeah.
here everything's really regulated, and if you want to set up a business you gotta go through a lot of friction, and you got to get licensed, and you got to get inspections, and you got to be insured for everything. Like there's a lot of obstacles, right? What's it like down there?
Well, it was definitely a very interesting transition, especially because I had a lot of Alberta deals on the go when I first arrived here. As I mentioned, I'm still licensed there, but as I've been here, definitely the focus has been more of my Mexico business, especially this time of year. But hurdles, working a very regulated, licensed real estate space where you've got the provincial government, you've got the Canadian government standardizing the contract that we use and running audits and having regulatory bodies that ensure that everybody's acting professionally and ethically. And then you come here and I mean, I could have been a hairdresser, come off a plane and decide I'm going to call myself a realtor down here, which is crazy to me. So working both a regulated space and the Wild West at the same time was quite an adjustment.
Mhm.
Now I'm kind of used to it, but now I know which lawyers to trust, which notaries to trust, which professionals I can count on. to help guide my clients down the right path. But when I first came here and knew absolutely nobody here, it was definitely a bit more of an adjustment to figure out who can you trust, how you can set up a business here. When we came down, we did set up a Mexican corporation right away, so we were able to conduct business through our Mexican corporation. I mean, just even to how you file taxes down here, like everything is so different, obviously, country to country. So there was a lot of figuring out as we went.
For
You know,
sure.
in Canada, we're so used to having trust accounts. In the US, you've got escrow accounts, whereas here, not so much. You know, it's you're
Good
in
luck.
some situations sending money to the seller, you know, and it's just kind of a bit of a different way when you've got mostly Canadians that and Americans that are working with you and they're used to coming from that space in Canada and the US. And then I'm telling them this is just how it's done here, you know? That's obviously not an answer I like to give clients.
I think what I'm hearing is that the relationships, the individual relationships are probably a lot more important in that environment, right? Because here, there's regulatory bodies and pretty rigid laws and standards and stuff. And it's like, okay, if I take a client and I say, hey, you need to write a $20,000 check to, Tracy's real estate office, what's going to happen to my money? Well, it's going to sit in a trust account. They can't touch that money until the deal closes or the deal falls apart. And so there's this built-in trust of this high trust society where it's like, okay, I'm not going to get ripped off here. Whereas, you take away all that regulation. Okay, I guess it's technically easier to do business, but like, who are you doing business with, right? So probably, would you say that a lot of building that business is just like, kind of fostering these professional relationships with people you can trust?
Definitely. Well, and even like for our clients, they trust a lot of the people that are coming to our company is because they know I'm a licensed broker and realtor in Canada. So
Right.
they know that they can trust the education that I've had. And even though it isn't the same rules that are followed here exactly in terms of how a deal transpires and progresses, they trust in the fact that I know how they're used to it in
It's you.
Canada. So then they trust the fact that I'm going to guide them through this and that I hold myself to the same professional regard as I do in Canada.
Right. So that's your reputation and your brand. They know that like they can trust you to behave as a professional and do things the right way and and they can hand over that check to you or
And
whatever. So
it helps. It helps down here too that we have the tequila bar restaurant. They've met my husband. My son has served them. My daughter's in the back cooking, you know, and then for a lot of the clients for a real estate company, it's my son that's doing the property management and checking them in when they're renting one of our vacation rentals. So there's a lot of that extra emphasis on trust that's given to our clients because they feel like they've gotten to know us.
yeah, there's a personal
And, you
thing
know,
there,
they've
right?
gotten to know more than just me. They've gotten to know my family. Posting a lot more online, being a little bit more candid, I guess. A lot of people seem to really resonate with that. You know, you're selling the lifestyle here more than you're selling one actual property and you're
Right.
selling trust in me versus selling a property because a lot of people when they come here they're being told by every family member, are you crazy for
Yeah.
purchasing property in Mexico? I heard about Bobby and Susie who lost all their money, and you know, so trust is a huge thing in selling real estate here.
So who are your clients? Like, is it mostly expats? Like, you've got Canadians and Americans. Do you have people that are buying somewhere to live that are taking things on like you did, or buying something to use as their vacation property, or buying something as a revenue property? A little of all of the above.
All of the above for sure. I think this used to be more of a sleepy kind of retirement expat town where, you know, when the direct flights come, which are like, you know, end of October until the May 1st, when
Mhm.
the airlines fly direct from a lot of the cities, there's a lot of snowbirds that come here and they come for extended periods of time. And I think that was generally the buyer before was, you know, a retired couple who wanted to use it certain months of the year. They would have another company rent it certain months of the year and then have it generate revenue for them so that as time went on and they were spending more time in Mexico, then their property's paying itself off.
Right.
Then with COVID Canada, there's a lot more families like us that moved here
Mhm.
who definitely seem to be more of the trailblazers, I guess you could say. So there's a lot of the demographic that's shifting here, a lot more families that live here full time that are expats. Then you've got a lot of the semi retired folk who during COVID did a lot of work virtually. So maybe they're like, 3 to 5 years from retirement. And then now they've proven to their bosses that they can work
Right.
remotely. So they've allowed them for the last 2 or 3 years of their career to work remotely. I'm finding there's a lot more people who are fully retired that are moving here and then just kind of progressing the amount of time that they spend here. And
Okay, so you're talking about your clients. You say you have people that were fleeing the country during COVID. You have people that want to be snowbirds, people that are getting close to retirement, people that do remote work, and now they're seeing like maybe there's a good possibility. Maybe it makes sense for me to own something in Mexico rather than just go down there and rent or stay at a resort or
absolutely, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't wanna stay at, all-inclusive resorts. They wanna come down for larger chunks of time, and then instead of, wasting the money on rent, have something that they can come visit, and then obviously on top of it, in the background, when they're not here, be making money off of it. So, because
yeah.
we offer property management and rental management services. Most of our clients will purchase through us and then they will have us rent it for them. So then, maybe they'll come and stay 2 months of the year. And then the rest of the time, we're renting it out to people and making the money.
So the place totally pays for itself, plus makes the money. What is your typical product there? Is it like high rise condominiums, like concrete buildings, or like little houses? Like what are people buying?
Uh, Mostly condos, but there's no high-rise condos here. So
Right,
that's what's really nice about Huatzulco's. They were very intentional about how it was going to be growing, and you can only go a certain height with a palapa at the top so that you don't have all of these high buildings getting in the way of people's views. So they were
right.
very intentional about where they were developing and how they were developing.
So
But mostly yeah, mostly most people are looking for, 1 to 2 bedroom condo so that they can come visit, the grandkids can come stay for that 1 week out of the 6 months that they're staying there, and then they'll
right.
often end up with like a two-bedroom condo. That's our most sought after product for sure.
And then what's something like that sell for? Like a decent two-bedroom condo with a view of the ocean or whatever?
Well, I mean, if you wanna be walking distance to the beach, certainly you can still get into something under 200 US. If you're looking for something with ocean view, then you're jumping up to over 450 US for the
And
most
then
part.
like right. So there's a range depending what you want. And
Yeah.
then what does that stuff rent out for a night or for a week or whatever if they're gonna do
Oh,
rentals while they're
it
away?
can vary. Yeah, it can vary if it's a bigger luxury listing, ocean view, you could have rents somewhere around, 1,500 to 3,000 US a week versus
A
something
week.
that's walking a week. Yeah, versus something that's walking distance to the beach. You could be looking somewhere between kind of 800 US to 1,500 US for a week for a two-bedroom.
And there's good demand for those for the
Yeah,
rentals, like, you fill them up pretty easily?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. In the like winter months, so from like November to the end of April when there's direct flights from Canada,
Mhm.
there's a lot of longer term stays, 3 weeks to several months versus uh, in the summer months, you have a lot of Mexican nationals that are traveling when their kids are off summer break. I find there's a lot of Mexican Americans that come down here a lot in the summertime. While it's considered what they call low season from May to November, it's not necessarily it means that it's less touristy, it's just different tourists. So you've got more
You still
Mexican
fill them
nationals
up.
that are traveling. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
shorter term stays, more like kind of, short term Airbnb style. 5,
Mhm.
6 day stays versus, those several month stays.
But I mean, a little bit of, like, back of the napkin math, like, you can make that kind of money on your rental on your condo, like, it seems like a no-brainer for ownership, right? Like, have the use of it, book out the weeks that you're gonna be there, and the thing pays for
Yeah.
itself while you're gone, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So your property taxes, all your expenses, your property management fees, all your bills and everything can really be handled with your rental revenue and then some.
Yeah, and then you've got your own place whenever you wanna go down there and use it. That's awesome. So,
Absolutely,
that's
yeah.
like a pretty easy pitch to make to somebody that wants to be there anyway, right?
Yeah, well, and you've got, so many more people now that are looking at other options to only investing in their home country, and they're looking for hot destinations to be able to invest in. And certainly Mexico in general and this particular area in Oaxaca is booming. So you're not buying at the height of the market here. You're buying somewhere where you can have a lot of equity in a property very quickly.
Yeah, and then how are people getting financing? Are Canadian lenders financing them? Are you getting private financing?
Mostly private equity lending. Find a lot of the Canadian clients and American clients that we're working with. A lot of them will do home equity lines of credit on their current
Mhm.
property. We do have some lenders that we are working with as well that will do Mexico mortgages for Canadians, and then they'll base it on your Canadian credit score, but it is a little more private equity lending. It's not going to be the same interest rates that you would be getting from a Canadian mortgage. But
Yeah,
certainly, when you look at how much things are increasing here, if you just needed a little bit of a mortgage to be able to get yourself into the market here, it's far worth it to have that maybe little bit of an extra interest rate versus waiting another 5 years when the market's at its peak.
and then from your office, you're able to coordinate all that stuff. You're able to coordinate the lenders and the lawyers to make for, like, a safe, smooth transaction for a Canadian or an American going down there that's, like, wants to be really careful with their money that's, that that's had all those haters on Facebook
Yeah.
say, "Oh, you're crazy."
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we've got a fantastic notary that we refer to, and anytime we have clients that are purchasing down here, we'd always recommend talking to the same way you would in Canada is chatting with your lawyer and professionals down here just to ensure that obviously this is a sound investment for you and how you're purchasing it makes sense because you can purchase by way of a bank trust, or you can purchase by way of opening a Mexican corporation down here. And you can have your Canadian corporation be a shareholder in your Mexican corporation. So I'd always say, with any purchase down here, we're always going to have you talking to your Canadian accountant, your Mexican
Hmm.
accountant, and then just make sure that you're purchasing it in a way that makes as much fiscal sense for you as possible, obviously.
And then on closing day, that money comes through and it gets done.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So what's the biggest objection you get to people that, maybe were like you that are thinking of moving their family down? Like, what are they most afraid of?
The unknown, I think
Mhm.
a lot of people, and I mean, really, this is probably how you should approach it, but I mean, a lot of people want to ensure that they know exactly everything they need to know about healthcare. They know exactly everything they need to know about the purchasing process, or house insurance. Like, there's so many different
Getting the kids
things
in
that we
school.
just kind of, yeah, in schooling, and we just, I realized, just jumped into doing this without having a lot of questions answered. But that would be a lot of objections from people is that, well, I can't do that. I don't know enough about the processes down there, and, it just seems like a crazy thing to do. A lot of people like to have
Mhm.
things lined up perfectly before they jump into doing something. I like to think that we've kind of helped people along with that process at this point now that we've been able to kind of create a more clearer path for somebody to make that call. Like, we've had quite a few clients actually where I've sold their properties in Alberta that have sold it all and moved here just based on the fact that we're still here 4 years
Yeah.
later, 4 and a
You
half years
inspired them to
later.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've kind of created a little bit more of a path, a little bit of a safer way to come to Mexico and have somebody to have blazed the trail for them already. So I
Yeah.
would say
So
that's
so that
probably a sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, that story that you guys have written for yourselves, it's not just a story, it's like it's really valuable. You're setting an example, you're saying like, "Hey, we did this not having any clue what we were doing, and here's everything that we've learned, and, we can help you do this without having to, make all the mistakes that we did," right?
Definitely. And like, you know, selling real estate down here it's more than just selling a property. It is teaching expats how to order Amazon. It's understanding that, how to get your residency and holding their hands through a lot of that part of the process as well and adjusting
So
to the
so again, that
lifestyle here.
relationship is super important, right? It's ongoing, not just
Absolutely.
well after they've bought something. And now you've
Absolutely.
taken that relationship and you've made it like more personal because you got your whole family there working in the business, and then you start this tequila bar. Tell me about the tequila bar.
Yeah.
How did what gave you that idea? And then I just love the way that integrates with your real estate business because all these you have such a deep connection with your clients. You go through so much with them, and they rely on you for so much. And then they're coming up and having a drink in your bar and social. Like they become your
Yeah.
friends. Is that kind of accurate?
Definitely. So I don't think we really kind of set out to doing any of the things that we've done here, but certainly opening a tequila bar was not really part of it.
Yeah.
What's funny is actually we on in our first space that we had for office space for the real estate company, we actually had a sign that had the name of like some tequila name that we had put up there because my husband had wanted to open a tequila business, but then it got so busy with the real estate that we kind of just put that aside. But we
Hmm.
still had that sign sitting above our office. And the reason why he was wanting to open a tequila company of some sort is because where we're living, it's a mezcal state.
Okay.
People from Oaxaca are very, very proud of their mezcal, and which is great. Like my husband also loves mezcal, but he found it hard to find a really good premium tequila here. So he said, "I'm going to open a tequila company just so I can get access to good tequila."
The good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like in Canada, he worked for the trade commissioner's office and had access through a lot of these connections to some ranches in Jalisco where they have all the tequila comes from.
Cool.
And so we had opened the real estate company and then put the tequila on the back burner and then we moved office spaces and it came with a secondary space. So my husband was like, well, maybe instead of a tequila company, I'll open a tequila lounge and I'll just sell all these premium tequilas and have a restaurant because I mean, in Canada, we didn't work real estate together. Out of necessity, he was working real estate with me when we first came here because it got busy so quickly.
Mhm.
But he wanted his own thing. So he opened the bar right above our office. And then just after a year in business, the third level space became available. There used to be a nightclub on the third level. So we moved the real estate office upstairs and now we have two levels for the restaurant.
And your daughter's in the back cooking. Did you ever
Yes.
imagine yourself, like, owning and operating a restaurant? Like, would you ever done that in Canada?
No, there's no way. And my husband has started and sold many, many businesses, in the oil and gas technology world. It definitely, he never, ever, ever would have seen himself opening a restaurant. And he still kind of wonders why he's doing it some days because it's just a completely different industry.
Mhm.
But, and let alone doing it with our children, that's definitely not something that we were planning. But because, they took a chance on us coming here and we kind of felt like we needed to provide them with some opportunities for learning and growing and fostering that, you know, entrepreneurial spirit that both him and I have.
Mhm.
And I feel like they've all just kind of naturally fallen into the positions that they have. Like our daughter that's doing marketing, certainly I don't think she in high school thought, okay, I'll be doing marketing. And even when she first started at the company, she was just working in administration. And then it just kind of started naturally going into the marketing, and same with all of the kids and the different roles that they're in within the companies. It's been
Right.
pretty cool actually to watch. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yes,
you must be
definitely a
proud.
different dynamic. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and something you just wouldn't have worked at it back at home, right? You
Yeah.
just wanna go to the mall.
Yeah, well, we would have all gone our different ways, I'm sure by now in terms of what their interest levels would have been on different
Right.
things or different businesses. I mean, a lot of them when we left Canada really had not even worked their first job
So
yet, you know?
right. So, like, ironically, like, taking your family and just, like, running away actually brought you all closer together, right? Like,
Definitely, yeah,
you've
because
got a
I
family
mean,
dynamic that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't gone through this experience.
definitely, because I think the kids kind of leaned on each other a little bit more because none of them really knew anybody. And
Mhm.
we just arrived. And, yes, there are a lot of older retired people. So it took a little bit longer to kind of meet where all the young kids at. And definitely since we first moved here, though, that the dynamic has shifted and gotten a lot younger than when we first
Mhm.
got here. But yeah, they hung out with each other a lot more and did things together than they would have done in Canada for sure.
Right, they had each other. That's perfect. Was there any moments where you're like, I don't know, maybe you're driving through the States or driving like, you had to go all the way through the US and then kind of all the way through Mexico too, right? Like, probably a
Yeah.
pretty hairy trip. Like, was there any moments where you're like, "What the fuck are we doing?" Like, did you ever regret it or, like, you
Yes.
must have been scared?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of moments, traveling across the Mexican border was definitely a little bit interesting. There was a few places what we drove through that we had some interesting experiences with some I don't wanna scare anybody, but I mean, we've had lots of people that honestly have driven through without incident at all.
Mhm,
Again, we can definitely tell people where not to drive through and where to drive through. But yeah, no, I mean, there was definitely a few experiences where we were wondering if we had made the right call. Um
mhm.
'Cause unfortunately, we learned quite a lot of lessons the hard, more expensive way just because we didn't know anybody, we didn't know who to trust here. I feel like we can definitely make that a lot easier on
Right.
a lot more people. We've got, the driving path down now, who to get your residency through, immigration professionals, notaries, all of that.
So you kinda have
But
the whole
yeah.
handbook mapped out for the next family that wants to do this, so they don't have to go through all that.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, and we have done it for several. And but there's been no regrets. Like I don't ever wish that we were back in Canada, honestly.
Mhm,
We've got a lot of family that'll come down here and visit us and then we get them for shorter periods of time, but they're down here and they're relaxed and it's quality over quantity.
for sure.
Um
So, if you could go back to the moment you made that decision or kinda leading up to that, if you could talk to yourself at that point, like, what advice would you give yourself about this whole thing?
If I were to, like, know what I know now, back when
Yeah.
we were just thinking about this, that's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe having somebody that we could have referred things with down here would have been nice, but we wouldn't have. I don't know. I don't really have any regrets because all of the lessons we had along the way kind of have made me understand better how to guide somebody else.
Mhm.
If we had it easy, then it just would have seemed easy to everybody. I don't know, like, it's a really good question.
Well, I
I
think
have to
what
think
I'm
about.
what I'm hearing is that, like, you kind of wouldn't really have done it any other way, or looking back, this is maybe how it had to be for you and your family,
Yeah. Yeah,
just winging it.
definitely. Yeah, maybe I would have learned a little more Spanish. I'm still struggling with being fluent in Spanish. Definitely my French has helped me a little bit, but, um, yeah, maybe learned a little bit more about the landscape where we were. But
Mhm.
I don't think that would have been very us to have researched this too much. We probably would have talked ourselves out of it or something had we done that. We're both
Right.
very fly by the seat of our pants kind of people and spontaneous. And a little bit random, you know? So I don't know that I would have really done it any other way other than maybe we trusted some of the wrong people along the way, you know,
Mhm.
but it led us to the right people that we can trust and put us in the right path.
So
Yeah, I
being
don't I don't
spontaneous and random and seat of your pants, like, what's the next move?
ooh. I don't know. I mean, every year during the summer, we keep kind of leveling up the business and moving
Mhm.
to a bigger office and then adding a restaurant and then adding a second floor to the restaurant. I just kind of want to chill a little bit more this
Yeah.
summer and not be adding another level of the business and just growing what we currently have. And, helping the kids to learn a little bit more about the businesses as well.
Are you tossing around any other crazy ideas?
I
Or
mean,
maybe you're in a situation where you don't feel like you need a big change in your life, and and you're happy to just kinda refine what you've got going and work on what you've got.
you know what? Like, I don't think I will ever just sit idly. I my husband and I will sit at the beach and we're trying to, relax. And all we do is sit there and talk business ideas
Mhm.
and ways that we can grow the businesses. And so I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever fully relax. I mean, right now, I suppose probably maybe we're not opening another office here, but we are moving more along the Oaxacan coast to areas in between, as well as Puerto Escondido. We've got some agents down there now. So I suppose we're always going to be kind of leveling up and kind of expanding the business.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know that we know how to sit idle. So I'm
Yeah.
sure something else will be coming up that we'll be tackling in the next few weeks, in the next month, I'm sure.
Always something.
Yes.
It's just how you are. Well, that's cool. We've had about an hour here, and you've been generous with your time, and I know you're super busy, but if people wanna find you and reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So, I mean, our website, Vistas Realty Group, follow us on social media. You can follow my personal page on Instagram as well, Tracy Greenman Realtor, and learn a little bit more about the area and what brought us down to this beautiful place.
Cool. Well, I hope people check it out, and I hope you get lots of calls from people that are thinking of making a move like you did.
Well, yeah. Anybody, please reach out if you have any questions. And I really appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Yeah, my
And
pleasure.
yes, I will have you on mine once I got it going.
Can't wait. Okay,
Yes.
thanks, Tracy.
All right. See you.